And I'm Caitlin.
And this is the Who Has Time for This podcast. This is a podcast where we delve into complex topics through the lens of our own unique perspectives. And today, Caitlin is going to be taking us through a little bit of an incident she experienced that kind of turned into a whole idea for an episode.
Yep. All right. If I know this has been a big topic on the Momstagram landscape that I'm very deep in, but we're going to talk about kids in breweries today and just what it says about America. Not the fact that we bring kids to breweries, but how people react to children in public spaces. Essentially, and just where we are as a society on that and what it means for parents today and their friends and their children and everybody around us. So I'm going to refer to a very specific incident that happened on social media. I'm not going to use real names. I'm not going to mention the actual place, even though this was a public Facebook comment, but I don't know. I don't want to be sounding like I'm bashing anything or anyone in particular, because it's just really just something to think about. And I'm changing.
It's a really good brewery.
Yeah, and it's a really good brewery, and I don't want to. It's not against them. Nothing about this is against them. So anyway, if people who know what I'm talking about, and if you want to know, you can know more. But it's not the brewery that we're upset about. It's unhinged men online. But and I'm also not going to. I've changed the names of the men involved in this.
They're going to be like new names.
Yeah. So a few months ago, at the beginning, around May, when we're all gearing up for the summer season, this beloved local brewery posted a reminder about rules for parents and families attending the brewery, especially as this summer was setting in. It was going to be very busy. So the rules, here was the post. One of our main goals will always be to offer a fun and safe experience for everyone who visits us. And as we head fast into the summer season, house rules are going to be more important than ever. This one's for all the parents out there. We're a family-friendly space where all are welcome. We love having little ones along, offering a space where parents can relax, have a beer, and keep their kids close by. But first and foremost, we are a brewery for adults. I would like to remind everyone about our rules for kids to ensure we all have a great time. So then it's about the rules, which are pretty common sense. Anyone under 21 must be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian at all times. Chaperoning groups of children who are not your own is strictly prohibited. One location is 21 plus only after 9 p.m. That makes sense to me. Children must stay within arm's reach of their parent or guardian at all times, cannot roam the property unattended. No running, throwing, or rough play. Rocks must stay on the ground. Tables, chairs, rocks, trees, landscaping are not for climbing or jumping. Outdoor games are for everyone's enjoyment. Please treat them with care. And that's it. To ensure everyone has a fun and stays safe with us this summer, these rules will be strictly enforced by our team. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. Thanks so much for understanding, helping us make a welcoming space for everyone.
That's a great post.
That's a great post. These are great rules. The fact that these rules have to be constantly spoken of and reinforced is a problem in itself, but we'll get to that. So, this was a Facebook post, and of course, people had feelings. So I'm just going to share an assortment of the responses that came in from this. And then we'll talk about them as a whole afterwards. So feel free to interject if you anything.
I was going to say, the only thing that comes to mind, with that post is, great, they're, saying we're welcoming.
Yep.
But you have to follow our rules, and that's it. And, I like the child has to be within arm's reach, so they're not running around. And here's if you are bringing a child to a space that's mostly an adult space, you just got to be cognizant of that.
Yeah.
If I'm at a brewery, I'm not going to be policing my language like I would if I was at an aquarium.
Right. And you know
so you have to be cognizant of it's an adult space.
Right. Somebody brought that up, not in this Facebook post, but I went down a Reddit rabbit hole about this afterwards, and people were like, well, I don't care if the kids are there. What I care about is when I'm there, talking, shooting the breeze with my friends, and I, swear or whatever.
Yeah.
And, a parent would be like, my child can hear you. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous expectation for a parent to have.
We're somewhere where we're drinking beer.
Yeah, and we'll jump back a bit, just like to set the scene.
I'm just saying, like, that's just like my kind of blanket thought about the whole situation.
But I realized that we should mention, like, I have 2 kids, and I bring them sometimes to breweries, and I'll explain that whole landscape later. And then Katie,
I don't have kids,
so she had. So we're representing both. Not that she's not on my side, but we're representing both viewpoints of, or perspectives and experiences of, and she often is there with my kids if we're all going together at a brewery. So representing both audiences, we'll say that, because there's the audience of people who don't bring kids to breweries or don't have kids to bring to breweries, and who either are fine with it or not. And then there's the audience of the parents who follow the rules and everybody has a great time, or the parents who don't care about other people's experiences and let their kids run wild. So, like, there's varying layers to this, but I agree about the, like, you're not at Chuck E. Cheese, you're not at a McDonald's place. Like, that would be weird if somebody was walking around and, like, swearing and and saying...
And, like, like a kid shouldn't be running around on their own in an adult space, because, like, 1, it's not childproof space. Yeah. Like, it's not made for kids. And 2, I don't know, you never know who's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Who could, like, do something bad.
Exactly. And I just want to say, this particular brewery, personally, I don't even think it should be family friendly. The space is, like, very narrow everywhere. Every part of it is narrow.
Kid could just disappear.
And it's one of the older breweries in the state, so it's had fans for a long time, and I feel like that makes for a different kind of clientele than a newer brewery that kind of, like, came up during the millennial craft beer boom and might be more well-suited to being family-friendly. Like, I can see how this particular brewery on a busy day is just a nightmare for this whole situation to unfold. So I would totally understand if they decided not to be family friendly, and I would not be mad at them for it. So this Facebook post, first I'll set the scene with some choice comments that I pulled out, and then I'm going to share an interaction I had with 2 people.
Yes.
One person said, "My parents never brought me to a bar as a kid." Okay, great. "Sitting, enjoying my beer when a child hit my back with stones. Parents did not apologize and looked as if they were inconvenienced to gather the problem. Your rules are perfect." I agree.
Okay. Also, like, did you say your kid hit me in the back with a stone? Or did you just look at them and expect them to know?
Right.
Also, like, I don't know. I went to restaurants that were bars as a kid. Like, I remember eating at Lassie's in the bar.
Right.
Getting the rolls with butter and shit.
Yeah.
I didn't eat anything when I was a little kid.
Exactly. This one time, it was my day off from the tap room. I got a phone call from one of the other bartenders telling me that a kid got bit by a dog and the parents were nowhere to be found. The planets aligned on that day. The perfect brewery conundrum.
Whoa.
That's pretty bad. Yeah.
That's horrible.
That's terrible. I personally...
How could you not be with your child?
Yeah,
in a
and then
space
they
like
get
that?
bit by a dog. Terrible. Yeah. I mean, some dogs are, like, fine with being at breweries. Honestly, I'd be fine if no dogs were at breweries, because this is coming from being the owner of a dog who cannot go to a brewery.
I love dogs at breweries.
Yeah.
I love petting them.
Yeah. I mean, I love them. But, I mean, if they're, like, chill, it's fine. But obviously you should know your dog.
You gotta know your dog.
Yeah, we learned our dog does not do well at breweries, and we stopped bringing her once we quickly learned that.
How could you bring your kid to a public space full of adults and be so far away from them that you can't even be located when your kid gets bitten by a dog? Like, they're probably crying.
Yeah. That we're going to talk about that in our next episode, which is going to talk about the flip side of all of this, which is hyper individualism. But we'll get
because if the parents are there, then, like, this is like, I mean, it's an if there's a responsible dog owner and a responsible parent, that shouldn't happen.
It's fine. Yeah, that would never happen.
Yeah.
If your kid was right next to you, they wouldn't be out getting bit by a dog. They
and
probably
if you knew your dog
surprise the
people,
dog.
Then you don't bring them to a crowded public space.
Exactly. I can't even I doubt that dog ever bit anyone. It probably didn't even actually bite the kid. It might have because kids come up to dogs all the time, surprise them, and it might have nipped in self-defense. When I'm walking my dog around the block, my dog's very reactive.
Yeah.
And if someone approaches her in just the wrong way, she's already defensive. If you approach just walking calmly, whatever, she's fine. But sometimes kids run up,
yeah,
and they're like, "Can I pet your dog?" And my dog's hackles are up, and I'm like, "Nope, sorry, not today." And I think when it's crowded, the dog's already probably had enough, and then a kid comes up from behind and tries to pet it, and it just swings around, and it's a bad situation. So your kids should not be running around trying to pet dogs. You calmly bring them and ask the owner.
Doesn't like crowded places,
don't
stay home.
Right. Back in my day, parents had to find a sitter to go drinking. #Gen X life. Okay, that's stupid. Brewery culture is different from bar culture, okay? We can all agree upon that. You're not going out having a bender.
Yeah, and I think that's a lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Parents drink in the house, parents have parties,
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. Right, parents just drink at home. I have photos of my, parents hosting our neighbors, and, all the kids are pretending to drink a beer.
My parents had,
and a closed
margarita
can
parties.
of beer. Yeah. So ridiculous.
Yeah.
You didn't need a sitter. They just drank in front of their children. Which, who cares? If you are doing it moderately and responsibly, that's actually not a bad example to set.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As long as humans have been able to ferment alcohol.
Yeah, we've all been drinking.
Parents have been drinking around their kids.
Yeah, exactly. And then this other person said, "I remember when I worked there years ago under previous owners. Parents let their kids use the cornhole boards as slides. One Sunday morning, parents brought a bag of toy construction equipment for the kids to play with in the bocce ball pit like it was a sandbox. Kids' soccer teams and little league teams running around like a bunch of idiots. The parents are usually worse than the kids." Yeah, well, the parents let their kids run amok.
It's not the kids' fault.
Yeah, and they have nothing else to do. They're being given permission by virtue of their toys being put out for them to play with.
So it's not these are all things that sounds like that initial message is
addressing. Yeah, exactly. These are extreme examples.
Yeah.
And then somebody else said, "It's great that families are welcome, especially since it's so hard to find places that are accommodating. But it sucks that these rules even have to be repeated. The actions of a few ruin it for the rest." Definitely. And then someone else said, "In my experience, 99% of the world is pretty accommodating for children and families." Okay. And then I weighed in here and I said, "The world for sure. Disdain for children in public places appears to be an American problem, though there are many irresponsible parents who help perpetuate this." And then this is where my two buddies that I ended up getting into a whole exchange with started.
Wait, before we go into that, I just the one that you said there's a few that ruin it for the many.
Yeah.
Just reminded me. So I live on a block in my city that they close off every summer.
Yep.
And they put tables down, and it's really nice, and people can sit there and hang out. And a lot of times, many unhoused people hang out there during the day.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's a nice, comfortable place to be.
Right.
And a lot of disabled people or elderly people spend time there with their friends. And I was walking through it to get home the other day, and this shirtless man with a big giant stick with stuff tied on it walked in with one of the nice turquoise chairs holding it up on his back, and he just threw it back on the ground. So it seemed like he had taken it somewhere else and brought it back.
No.
And this table of really lovely older women were sitting there just having their time, talking to each other, catching up. And I heard one of them very loudly go, "And you see, it's people like him who are ruining it for us." And it's yeah, because the people who are taking the chairs, God knows where, and bringing them back and throwing them on the ground, are ruining it for the listeners who just want to chat with their friends on the afternoon.
Right, exactly. Guys, come on, just be aware. Yeah. So these stupid parents who are being irresponsible are ruining it for all the other parents who follow the rules. Yeah. So that's what I said. And my two friends, what names did I give them? Okay, we're going to call them Ron and Bob. So Bob, not their real names, Bob said, "I agree that the irresponsible parents are an issue, which coincides with my no kids in bars comment." He had left another comment. And I'll tell you that Bob is an older guy in his 60s probably. He was actually not bad, he was just annoying. And then my other friend, Rob, who is terrible, said, it is earned, like the disdain is earned. Leave your kids out of adult situations. Okay? Very great.
Okay.
So that was the first little bit. And then another guy, who actually my husband knew this guy from high school, said, there was a time when breweries didn't exist and we properly raised our children to not act like shitheads in public. Then, for a short while, breweries existed and we still properly raised our children to not act like shitheads in public. Then we got to the point we're at now, which is where we don't properly raise our children to not act like shitheads in public. And it's felt in public places like restaurants, movie theaters, and yes, breweries. The brewery posting these rules is simply a reflection of shitty parenting. Fellow millennials, stop being shitty parents and ruining modest and responsible brewery stops for the rest of us. Now, he's on to something, but I don't think it's shitty parenting or children being shitheads.
Yeah,
I think
his disdain is just like oozing through.
Yeah.
It's not like, and I've never been anywhere where a kid was annoying me that I blamed the kid.
Right, exactly.
If a kid is running rampant in a movie theater, I'm like, you need to bring your kid out.
Yeah, right.
Because they clearly, like, this is not a good spot for them.
They're just not into it right now.
Yeah.
And so it's not that the kids are raised to be shitheads.
They're
it's just
kids.
in this situation, they're just the proper rules and guidance aren't being followed.
Yeah,
and
kids are always going to be kids, and they always have been kids. Kids are not worse than they used to be.
Yeah, exactly. So then the savior comes into the comments, and this person is a brewer at a different brewery in our state. So he's coming from a different perspective, but so he says, I ran so fast to the comment section to hear all the armchair brewery GMs. This is a great way to address this. Breweries are made to be a space for all. And most wouldn't still be in business if they didn't adapt this model. Millennial-age parents are the reason craft beer was so popular, and now they have kids. You'd be turning away a huge amount of business to shun them from coming. As long as kids are being watched, it's not that big of a deal. If you don't want to see kids, stay home or go to your local bar. There's a reason breweries are designed the way they are. To accommodate all, to be a community gathering space. That being said, I'm most likely not taking my kids to a brewery, but it should be an option. And like, that makes sense to me. He works at one. He's probably like, ugh, the last thing I want to do is bring my friggin' kids here.
People keep talking about bars as if they're so different from breweries, but also, like, I don't know, a lot of places that I go to as the bar are also a restaurant where kids can go and eat food.
Right. And
so it still has a place that has kids.
Yeah. And I think the most disruptive kids are like kids like 3 to like 10 who are like too young to listen because they're 3, or like just like in that rambunctious age. And like, so I feel like you could easily be like, no kids after 6 p.m. Like, this is no kids after 9 p.m. I would say you can totally say after 6 p.m. Like, during the day, they need to go home and go to bed anyway. And, or even have like Saturdays, or like all Friday is no kids, or like whatever. Because you don't want to lose all the business on like a Saturday or Sunday. But, or maybe you pick one weekend day that's no kids, and then like, fine, I totally understand. So I went in, and some of the stuff I wrote was a little cringe. I will like I went back and I'm like, ugh. But so
you're gonna dox yourself.
Bear with me. But so the way I wrote some of the things, please. I mean, you could judge me. It sounded dumb, but in the moment it felt right. So I responded to that guy's comment with, this times 1 million. Millennial age parents are the reason craft beer is so popular, and now they have kids. I used to be a person who judged people for bringing their kids to breweries. True, because I didn't understand back then. Now I bring my kids to breweries. Not all the time, and I would rather not bring them, but you know, because I'm a craft beer loving millennial who decided to spawn. I don't know why I wrote it like that. And we don't always have a babysitter on hand. In fact, that's a whole other thing. Seems the next generations behind us aren't too keen on drinking socially as much as we are anymore. So it's not smart from a business perspective to ban kids, which is why I appreciate this particular brewery for always being accommodating and clear about their rules. Anyone is entitled to a child-free life, but it's not a child-free world, which I got from an article that I'll talk about later. That said, I'm responsible and try very hard to ensure my kids aren't anyone else's problem, and we leave if they even show a hint of becoming a problem. My kids are littler, much more easier to manage, but you know, they're little, so sometimes there's like a point of no return, and you have to just like be honest with yourself. We have to leave. This kid's gonna have a tantrum. It's gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah. I remember specifically being at a brewery, the one
yeah,
and I was outside and with a couple of people, and your husband was there
Yeah.
with your oldest,
Yeah.
who she was kind of like
Oh, I
having the wiggles
remember.
and walking around,
Yeah.
and he was literally 2 feet behind her the whole time,
yeah,
just with her.
yeah. Because we would never
Yeah.
expect otherwise to act in any other way.
Yeah.
Like, it's just common sense.
Like, he was still talking and participating, but he was like following her so she
Yeah.
could do all her little exploring.
Yeah, exactly. So then my friend, what did I say his name was? Ron here. Ronnie boy.
Oh, Ron.
He responds. And I have a whole, like, I did a deep dive on Ron, and I'll share my findings afterwards. Ron said, "You are bringing your kids to an adult place where adults should be free from your kids, and you are burdening the establishment with the discontent and lack of business that causes. Your kids don't drink, presumably, and you are bringing them and their problems to a place primarily in business to serve drinks to people, taking up space, costing the business money, annoying patrons, and the kids aren't making the business anywhere near enough money for that to be worthwhile. Shame on you. Leave the kids at home or find an appropriate place. Read the room." Like, don't you
Read
think
my
like
one
they
opinion.
would know if it's making them enough money or not?
Yeah,
Like,
they would have chosen.
yeah.
But that thing about, like, you know, you can choose to be child-free, but it's not a child-free world, is also kind of giving, like, people who have, like, certain triggers for different, like,
Yeah.
psychological conditions, like, you should be aware of your triggers and try to avoid them as much as you can, but
Right.
other people cannot be responsible for your you being triggered. That's, like, it's
Yeah.
kind of a similar thing.
You gotta be responsible
Like, people
for
who
your
are like,
kids.
you can't say this word around me because it triggers me. And it's like, well, I can't, like, you know, I can only do so much for you. You
Yeah.
have to be responsible for you and know what you need to do to protect yourself.
Yeah, totally. And
It's like a similar sort of thought.
And I'm obviously, like I said, a parent, and I explained in my cringy comment, like, we bring our kids to breweries. So, like, we more often than not don't. Like, we don't get out that much anymore, but we try not to. Because we'd rather have an adult time without them, and like,
Yeah.
But like, breweries have become like the third space that we all gather at, and sometimes we have to bring them. Maybe it feels more like sometimes than not times, but a lot of times we go out on dates and whatever, so maybe not everybody else experiences, just me and my husband going to the brewery. And I will also say, like, I get, like, kids are annoying, and I get being annoyed by them in public. Don't get me wrong, even though I'm arguing my point of view and my experience and whatever, like, I completely understand being annoyed by them.
I just don't, I don't get annoyed by kids.
Yeah, well,
like,
that's good,
I
but
don't know. Like, when there's a
You're a
kid
nice person.
around and like, this is so cute.
Yeah,
Look
yeah.
at this cute. Unless they're throwing rocks at me or something.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, hey, your kid threw rocks at me. Can you
Right.
keep an eye on them?
yeah, or even like, I'm totally a fan of community parenting in that if my kid's ever throwing a rock and you yell at them, I would not be mad.
Yeah.
I'd be
But I
well,
wouldn't
you
do
wouldn't
that.
be
I
like
would-
as long as you're not crazy about it. But
I mean, if I know the kid, I'll talk
Yeah.
to them. But if I don't know the kid, that's the parent's responsibility.
Oh
not
yeah,
mine.
totally. No, of course.
Yeah.
Go to the parent, but if you can't find the parent or whatever, which is again a different problem.
Which is against the
Yeah.
rules that they're saying.
Then, like, I guess my point is, so many parents in the world are like, don't talk to my kid, don't discipline my kid.
yeah.
It's like, well, you know what? Sometimes they need to hear from someone who isn't you, because clearly you're not. So anyway, I responded to this kind man with, "Do you have children? Are you the manager of a brewery? Have you ever run a business?" And then I said, "I'll leave you with this, with the possibility that it opens your mind a little." And it was a Substack post about the child-free world thing, which I will reference later. And then Ron responded, "I'm just one of the majority that cannot stand your demon spawn running around our public places that are completely inappropriate for children. It is odd that you are looking for some kind of an authority that I possess when you are commenting on a post that clearly states what the authority is saying. Leave your kids at home."
But that's not what the
That's
post
not
is
what
saying.
it's no,
It's
it's
just
not.
saying these are the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And then my friend Bob, is that what I called him? Sorry, I should.
Is Bob the other
Bob,
guy who
yeah.
worked at the brewery?
Yep, Bob. No. Bob
Bob is another
is
bad
the
guy.
old guy. The old guy who is against kids being at breweries, but he's not as like mean as this other guy. Bob said, because I mentioned millennials, and so did the guy before me.
Yeah.
The the other brewer
guy.
who was cool. Bob goes, yes, the generational tack, like talking about millennials, It's so sweet that you attach this to your point. Good golly, your lucid and well thought out insight has helped this post immensely. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Why are they so
word.
worked up about this?
I don't know.
I'm tired.
Yeah. And then, of course, everyone listening to me is probably like, why were you even talking to these people?
I can't help yourself.
I can't help myself. And I have these delusions of grandeur that if I just say like one really good thing, I'll change everyone's mind. I tried. I don't think it worked. So then I responded, the person who first mentioned the millennial connection works in the brewery business. I'm just echoing what he said. It's also well documented that the generations behind us, Gen Z in particular, aren't drinking as much as their predecessors, especially not publicly, and driving a demand for non-alcoholic options. I'm sure you've noticed the rise in non-alcoholic beers and seltzers and zero-proof cocktails and drinks being offered at breweries to keep up with this change of preference. To which the cool brewer liked my comment. And then good old Bob said, okay, this is my last comment. As a society, we are so blatantly lazy about this, and we can't find the time to raise our children without impeding upon our pathetic and narcissistic need to keep our lives going as they were without children involved. Which I don't agree with him, but he kind of like, I don't think so. It kind of gets at something we'll explore in the next episode a little bit. What a negative blast to society when parents have to argue the point about bringing their children to a bar. Nobody was arguing that. No wonder we're so screwed up in this country. God bless the next generation. They're going to need all the blessings they can get with a group of self-centered people raising them.
Wait, so he dissed on you for bringing a generational divide.
Yep.
And now he's bringing generations.
Yep. And then he said, you can quote me on this one. Everybody wants to have a cute, cuddly baby, but nobody wants to actually raise a child.
Not a single person on God's green earth.
Not a single. And then I said, okay, but a brewery isn't a bar, no matter what so many people are asserting. Brewery culture is not bar culture. We all love to shit on millennials, but millennials did help shape the brewery culture as it is in the United States, as the head brewer of another brewery mentioned in his comment. So you're going to keep arguing your points. You need to be accurate in your assessment. I went to a third brewery yesterday for a brief visit, and there were many families with quiet, well-behaved children of varying ages, all just minding their own business, enjoying themselves in the welcoming atmosphere cultivated by such establishments. I find it interesting that I don't see breweries like Brewery A and Brewery B constantly needing to remind people of their kids' rules in the same way that this brewery does. My guess is because this brewery gets very crowded very quickly because it's so popular, which is never a good mix with kids involved generally, which is why, unless it's just me and my husband, we avoid peak hours. This is common sense. And Original Brewery has been around for so long that there's a great concentration of curmudgeons, I was getting mad, prone to complaining among its fan base. And then Ron, good old Ron, came back and he referenced the other brewery I talked about where there was lots of well-behaved children. He said, that brewery is a hive of offspring wretchedness all the time. We went on a rainy day and there was tables of families, but the kids were playing games with the parents and babies were there, but they weren't doing it. They were sleeping. And there was kids, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids, but they were all as a family playing board games. Everyone was having a great time. So he says that other brewery I mentioned is a hive of offspring wretchedness all the time. The people on both sides of the bar can't stand it, but they aren't as willing to publicly rock the boat. Main characters continue to infest the place, and you seem ever more determined to try and ruin their business with your selfishness, no matter how they increasingly try to signal for you to stop.
This seems like the kind of guy who calls someone an NPC in real life.
He does.
He does.
Later in this thread, he does. So then, you guys, you can tell I'm starting to unravel at this point. I respond. Well, I don't even think I respond. I think I started a whole new comment where I said, just FYI, in Europe, they treat parents as fully rounded humans worthy of venturing out of the house even when they gasp, don't have childcare prearranged, and it generally seems to be going well for them as long as those parents take responsibility for their children, which should be the expectation. Yeah. And then Bob came back. I don't remember the order of his comments. This was before he said it was his last comment. But he said, "But we Americans don't do that. We want the world to both accept and love our poorly raised children.
What's all this about the poorly raised children?
I don't know. It's like he probably watches Fox News and they're like show like like really insane clips of kids doing really weird stuff. I don't know.
Like you always tell yourself, I'm not going to be that person that says the next generation sucks. And
like break the cycle.
It's like,
but all
every
generations do
generation
that.
Has done that.
Yeah. So
it's like when you started watching TV instead of listening to the radio, they said that about you.
Right, exactly. So we want the world to both accept and love our poorly raised children. Europeans have it right. They have what right? I don't know. We most certainly and unequivocally do not. So Europeans are welcoming to children. They have it right. We're unwelcoming to children, which probably makes everything so stressful that these rules, this whole thing happens, and we have it wrong. So,
and I think you're going to be talking about community in the next
one,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I will, because that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, you can hint at it, but yeah, we're in deep dive. So then Ron comes back, my favorite friend, and he says, "Then go bring your kids to Europe, where you think they will be treated like you want them to. I know you won't, because the natives will tell you to bring your tots home and not be so obnoxious. That is why you won't do it. Your kids need to be home or at kid-appropriate places. Stop being a wildly obnoxious breeder that none of us can stand. Your romantic idealism of how you think others should accept you and your rotten ideas is not reality."
Ron is a Reddit mod.
Yeah. So then I do regret what I next said because I should have just always taken the high road, but I responded, "You are a treat. Big man making a stand in the comments of a brewery post. I hope your obvious superiority in this realm is bringing a smile to your face and to those around you. You know nothing of how I parent. You're making general assumptions based on some admittedly bad examples set by others and probably some caricature of millennial parenting you've seen in your own media ecosphere, and applying it to everyone, which suggests an inability to think critically and be open-minded about the experiences of others." Now, and in my saying he's not thinking of others, you could also argue I'm not thinking of him. But I'm trying to speak on behalf of parents because the whole thing is creating this terrible, like, shit on every parent thing. Shit on all of them. They're all terrible. And I'm trying to prove that you're taking really extreme examples and just blanket assuming things about all parents, and that's not fair either. But again, Facebook comments said most appropriate place for this. No, of course not. It's always going to go poorly. But
there's just so much disdain for children.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I don't get.
Right.
Children and stuff.
Right. So then he responded, "You bring your offspring to breweries. I don't need to know more about your parenting than that." So that's his moral line that he's going to stand on. "Read the room, soak in the comments on this post and all the people that find what you are doing obnoxious. Stop playing the main character and thinking, but I do it right." But I do it right because I follow the rules. You don't.
I just don't think this guy's ever going to budge.
No, he's not. We're almost to the end, I promise. "Stop playing the main character and thinking, but I do it right. You don't. If you did, your kids wouldn't be in a brewery or bar. You have Friendlies." No, we don't. They're all closed.
Yeah, what?
"You have Chuck E. Cheese." Okay, that's definitely where I want to spend every Saturday.
Yeah,
I'll spend some Saturdays.
There's no outdoor place to go at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah. "You have diners and McDonald's play places. You have all the places that are kid appropriate to bring them." And here's where I know this man is not a parent, because he doesn't realize that by the time we go to a brewery, we have been to all these places. The day is very long when you have children. You have the opportunity to have gone to all these places, the playground, grandma's house, whatever. And it's still, when you're done, 3 o'clock and you have 4 hours to go to bed. Okay? Sometimes parents just want to blow off a little steam, okay? Mm-hmm. He continues, "But you choose to bring them to an adult establishment to annoy the adults." Yes, that's definitely my goal when I go. "Because they are ornaments to you. You decorate yourself with them and go out in public to play the character that you want the NPCs to see you as. But you are actually being seen as that awful person who is sitting in a brewery with 2 little kids. and everyone around you, well, they may not say it, and they might be polite about it, lest you freak out and have a Karen moment like you are having in text right now. They think you are being awful. And that is awful that our culture has allowed you to be deceived like that. Feel free to dismiss me as some hallucinated patriarchy nonsense, big man, because I had called him big man. I know you will continue to do whatever you want because that's how you operate. But society is telling you to knock it off. A good parent and
society is not.
Right.
It's just you.
Right. A good parent and a responsible adult would heed that call and be introspective. After all, that's what you'd want your kids to do, right? And then I responded, you're making a lot of personal assumptions. Let's get a beer and discuss in person. Then Ron said, no thanks, I don't hang out with kids at Brewery. And don't try to patronize and talk about assumptions with the way you have been talking in this post. And then he reiterated what I said about big man making a stand. Like, dude, don't dish what you can't take, right? And then I said, I tagged him and the other guy, and I said, we are scratching at a major cultural tipping point that deserves to be brought into the light of an in-person conversation. While we do not have to change each other's minds, I don't know why I did this. I was like really on a tear at this point. I do think there's more to discuss in a way that is both humanizing and worthy of real-time dialogue. And then I said that I would buy the older guy a beer, because I don't know why. And then I said to my other friend, Ron, that he owed me a beer for being rude. And I said, if you're as old-fashioned as your views are, then you should know not to speak to a lady that way. And I said, I'll be at the brewery at whatever time, on whatever day, for a few hours, enjoying my millennial remote work Friday flexibility with my millennial laptop using millennial internet. If you'd like to come by and hash it out, man to man to woman, I'd welcome the opportunity. And we can ask some of the guys behind the bar to share their experiences and give us insight into the business decisions that go into these policies. And then I said, and this was Mother's Day when this all occurred, I said, now, Ron, think twice before you reply because it is Mother's Day after all. And then Ron said, I owe you nothing. On the other hand, you owe everyone an apology and to keep your kids home where they belong. The truth isn't rude to people who have some shame and humility. You have a lot of people telling you what they truly think is literally just him about your behaviors, and you are ignoring them with an entitled and childish attitude.
Were there any other comments on this post saying that they didn't want kids at breweries?
Just the ones I had said that were like, back in my day, we didn't bring kids drinking, but there was maybe like one other guy who's like, one time kids threw rocks at me.
You read that one.
Yeah. I think there was a second one because I responded.
But they were all saying good rules.
Yeah. Nobody but these two guys was saying
you're inherently bad.
Yep. Nope. And there was other back and forths between these two guys and other people.
Okay.
But the other people just gave up, whereas I kept going. So Ron continues, I certainly wouldn't be dragging the poor employees into an extended Karen wine fest that they don't have any need in being in, but I'm sure you will, and that is fine, because eventually you will wear out your welcome more than you already have. And it's like, if they don't want kids there, they won't be family friendly. They can make that choice.
Yeah, the businesses can make the choice that there's plenty of breweries that are 21 plus.
Yeah, and nobody is faulting. Well, I'm sure there's some annoying parents who are faulting. So I was like, all right, it's time to bow out. So I just responded, I've decided I'm behind you. Make breweries great again. But now you need to take your work to the field. I challenge you to find a family at the brewery who is minding the rules and tell them everything you've shared here. Let us know how it goes. And to all my fellow reprobate parents out there, I saw that Chuck E. Cheese has partnered with the McDonald's Play Place to offer a Christmas tree decorating class where we use our ornament children as decor. Because he said that.
You really
Join me. Perhaps we can all tailgate in the parking lot. That was it.
That's funny.
I didn't hear back from anyone. So that was the whole thing. That was a whole ride. I was a little disturbed, but I needed to know more about this guy, Ron. So I Googled him, and I learned that he is a gun rights activist and had founded a nonprofit that he says his nonprofit is dedicated to advancing and protecting the fundamental civil rights of men and women in Connecticut to keep and bear arms for self-defense. So he's calling this gun rights, civil rights, in the same way you would refer to like voting rights as civil rights. I mean, I guess technically if the definition is something in the Constitution, sure, but don't call gun rights civil rights.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Are you, like, he's trying to make it sound like progressive. He's definitely like he's a Second Amendment activist, and I was looking at the social media pages of his nonprofit, and I saw, I mean, I can't say for sure because like the website is out. I don't think he does it anymore because the website was not operating, but I think I could piece it back that he launched it after Sandy Hook when like legislation was being passed, so like you can kind of see how he feels about children in that sense, which is that they are not important.
Play.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah,
children get murdered.
Yep.
And your response is
start a gun rights.
Let's protect guns.
Nonprofit.
So he must hate Chris Murphy.
Yeah. And he, I'm sure doesn't see it this way, but like this is like an anti-children thing. Not that he wants to go out and kill children, but like that this awful event that was such a tragic loss of children's lives, he sees the outcome of that with the gun legislation as
what about me? What about my toys?
Yeah, exactly. As a threat to him. So you can tell already, like he's entering the brewery conversation with not the same perspective of children that you and I have.
These dead kids try to take away my guns.
Right. And so all children are terrible, and all parents are terrible. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and also I couldn't tell his age, but I don't think he's that much older than, I think he's probably like early 40s. He wasn't older like the other guy. This was definitely like a elder millennial, but not like who just like loves guns. So that was unhinged.
Never mess with a journalist on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. I will find out. I found everything out. So there are several issues at play here. The main ones I want to just wrap up this particular conversation about are, well, whether breweries should be child-friendly in the first place. I mean,
I think that's up to them.
Yeah, common sense. If you
whatever
have space,
they want to do, they do.
Yeah, if you have the space, if you want to make that your aura, family-friendly, welcoming to all, and you have rules and you enforce them, go for it.
Yeah. And
I'll gladly patronize you. If you don't, I understand, and I will gladly patronize you on a date night. Like,
yeah.
So, and then I like did some Reddit research, and I was just like, oh my God, like, cause I was like disturbed by this, and I'm trying to put myself in other people's shoes.
There's a lot of people who hate kids.
Yeah, definitely. And cause I remember when I've always loved breweries. Me and my husband go to breweries all the time. And I would think back in the day, oh, why are they bringing their kids? Like, why would you want to bring your kids? Because, what do I know? And but I wasn't like mad about it. I was just questioning why you would want to. But now I know why, because you don't have another choice other than to just stay home, which is apparently what everybody wants us to do.
I also feel like I only ever felt that way when like the kids were running around.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm being like watching them nervous about their safety.
Yeah.
And like,
if the kid's just sitting and doing nothing, I don't think twice about that.
No, it's there.
So it goes back to the rules and following the rules.
Yeah.
And then the other thing people were saying was like, why would you want your children to watch you drink? And it's like, because they're going to grow up in a world with alcohol. They should know how to drink responsibly.
You didn't grow up in an Irish Catholic family,
yeah.
apparently.
Yeah. Right. And I'd rather them see me having a healthy relationship with it where it's just like part of a communal experience where nobody's getting obviously if you want to have a party and get trashed, then you set that aside in a child-free location, and that's a specific purpose, a New Year's Eve party or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a different thing than going to a brewery that is like has food. They all offer food now, or you could bring food or whatever, and just like whatever. And the other thing is, kids need to learn how to be in adult spaces. This is like a thing that they need to learn. Otherwise, they're going to be weird-ass adults, which I think is what happened to our friend Ryan. On the flip side, sometimes, because there are people in my family who would not be as extreme as him, but be like, why do you need to like go do what you want to do? You have kids now. You need to just do everything for them. Everything is about them.
Yeah, because the life of a mother is a sacrifice.
Yes, exactly.
And she loses her own identity as soon as she has kids and becomes nothing but a mother and a wife. Yeah.
And sometimes that will get at me. I'm like, am I being selfish because I want to go to a brewery? It's like, no. Like, I'm just getting out of the house. We're all getting out of the house. Like, why is that bad? We go to the playground. We go to swimming lessons. We go to dance lessons. We do everything that is like a normal childhood routine. Why can't we have 1 hour at a brewery? Why is that? That's not selfish.
No.
That's just normal.
Yeah.
And then think about in Europe. Everywhere is child accommodating. The kids go to the beer garden. I haven't been to Europe with kids, and I haven't been to Europe in a long time. But this is what I learned through my research. It's just, and they have paid leave and universal child care. It's just a generally more child and family friendly culture.
It's less hostile toward parents.
And kids,
and people in general.
Yeah, kids are welcome in most spaces.
Yeah,
and it's just like expected, and everybody it's like a norm. We all follow the norms. Whereas here, it's like not a norm. That's why some parents are so bad at following the rules, and some other people are so weird about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the one piece. And then the other piece, which we'll discuss in our next episode, is those parents that don't follow the rules. Why don't they follow the rules? Like, why are people like this? We'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. But to conclude here, let's talk about pro kids at brewery argument.
Okay.
And my research for this is like my own experience, obviously, as well as reading a bunch of Reddit threads. And there was a New York Times article about breweries that went child friendly and are now reconsidering it.
Oh, okay.
So here's the pro bringing kids to breweries thing. So confining parents and kids to their home and playgrounds for years, for like their early developmental years, is impractical and discriminatory, if you want to put it that way. Other countries, like Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, welcome and integrate children into cafes, restaurants, and bars, rather than merely tolerating them. And where I got this so succinctly from is this woman I follow on Instagram who also has a Substack. Her name is Ellen Fitzgerald, and she just writes a lot about motherhood, and she's like because she's posted like a picture or whatever once about she was at a brewery with her kids, and the comments were insane. Well, it's just similar to my experience. And then she's like started like really going in on this, like, why are you all like this? What is wrong with this? Like, what is going on? So I'm citing her, and she wrote a really great essay on Substack about her experience going to Europe with her toddler. Yeah. And like it was just super different. And even people responding to that, like, why do you need to go to Europe with your toddler? Why don't you wait till they're like 10? And it's like, who cares?
Why does she have to raise a bubble baby?
Yeah.
Why can't her toddler travel?
She and her husband have the means to go to Europe on a family vacation. They did all the planning. They like, who cares?
Why is that?
And also, I don't know. Right, because people just need to butt in and like say their piece.
I don't understand the issue.
Yeah, there's no issue. And then she was basically just like, oh my God, it's just so much. Like the baby was fussing at the restaurant that they were at in Europe. And like the waiter was like, do you want me to walk him around for a little while so you can finish your dinner?
That's really
and then
sweet.
Someone else was like, why would you let a stranger take your baby? And she's like, he is...
No one knows what community is anymore.
It was unhinged.
Like, the waiter is going to take the baby and run out the front door, abandon his job to run away with this baby.
This American baby. But then other people were like, you're only talking about the touristy places in this XYZ, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, sure, like in Hungary or whatever, maybe in authoritarian Hungary, maybe it's a little different. I don't know. But again, I can't speak to all of Europe. I haven't been to all of Europe, but she's telling her experience. She didn't make it up. It happened. So she also wrote about isolating families increases parental stress. Yes, it does. And mental health struggles. And reduces kids' opportunities for socialization. And this fails society's most vulnerable members. Or some of their most vulnerable. Yeah.
It's like the loneliness epidemic. It's not just affecting men, it's affecting women, it's affecting families.
Yeah.
Like,
and
so let's
yes.
be community and stop isolating.
Hinting at our...
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's good because it helps follow the thread. But
no one cares that women are also isolated.
Burdened and isolated.
No one cares that mothers are isolated.
No one.
Only men. Mm-hmm. That's all that matters.
And like also like women drinking beer is like already like, why are you drinking beer?
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
Yeah.
I mean I like wine too, but I'd rather have a beer, okay?
Yeah, beer's a daytime outside drink.
And then I think she did this, on purpose to like stoke the conversation, but like she had a picture, this woman I follow on Instagram, she was nursing her baby and drinking a beer, which is because
whatever your doctor says.
Yeah. And as I famously said to your mom, that my doctor said if you can find the baby, you can feed the baby, because like the alcohol, like nothing gets to them. Also, if you time it right, it dissipates out of your system in between feeding, so it doesn't even matter. So if you are nursing as you're drinking, by like that doesn't like it doesn't get into your bloodstream quick enough to affect that feeding, and then it's gone by the time they need to feed again. So that's actually the perfect way to do it. And of course, she did this on purpose to like.
And it's just, I don't know, it just is tying into that like women are expected to be the ones carrying all the emotional labor and doing all of the sacrificing. And like when it's a mother, that's tenfold, because now you're not only having to do it for the male partner, you're also having to do it for the baby and for society, because get that out of our face.
Yeah,
we don't want to look at it and like, oh, shame on you for doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's always the woman's fault.
Always. That's just a common American thread.
It's just like it just adds another like layer to like the expectations of like like, I don't know, when you're in a partnership and like, oh, you're the one that has to remember all the birthdays and giving all the presents.
The mental load,
You're the one that has to, get all the things that he wants at the grocery store, but make sure you keep the, the budget tight. And actually, we got to cut the budget tighter, but remember to get all the things that I want.
Yeah.
And like, and if he goes to the grocery store, he's got to call you to be like, which type of apple do we want to get? And like,
I don't know what an apple is. What's a green apple? What's a red apple?
And then you add a child to it, and it's like, how dare you have a beer?
Yeah, right, exactly.
You need to be sacrificing your entire life for this child.
Yeah, and it's just not sustainable.
No.
And then another pro kids at breweries is, like I said before, kids need to learn how to behave in public by being in public. How can they learn how to behave in public at home when there's no public?
Yeah.
And it's also different. They're going to behave at Chuck E. Cheese differently than they're going to behave in the grocery store, differently than they're going to behave at a restaurant, at a brewery. They have to be in all these spaces. It's ridiculous to think that they're going to grow up to be well-adjusted people if they don't have all these experiences.
Yeah.
And also, you need to respect your adults' time. Like, we do everything for our kids.
Yeah.
They need to know that it's fine for us to sit and hang out with our friends and they can play a game. And we can all play a game together. It's not like I'm saying like you have to like sit there and watch an iPad,
Yeah.
Which is totally... Sometimes you gotta do that if you're like reaching the end, the bill hasn't come yet, and you're like trying to get out of there and things are getting testy. I don't care. Break out the iPad. I'm not going to judge any part of that.
Yeah.
But I do understand sometimes when, like, you go there and you plunk the kid with an iPad the entire time, and they're just
the kid should you should want to talk to each other.
Yeah, because that's not teaching them how to be.
Yeah.
Because that's not teaching them how to be in public either.
No, exactly.
So there's a fine line. But like, I think the whole point should be, you're going out as a family, so hang out as a family in this place and have friends and just like all commingle together, which is just ultimately the whole thing of being a community.
And like, here's the thing: when your girls are older, in high school and college, and they're looking at you and like what they admire about you, do you want it to just be like, she sacrificed all of her happiness for us, or do you want it to be like, I'm so proud of my mom for doing this for all of us, but also following her dreams?
Yeah.
And, like,
yeah, that's what
like,
I think. And I think
being a person, to be
being a person,
like,
being a whole person.
Yeah. To have attributes to look up to that aren't just sacrifice.
Yeah. And I think that some people in these previous generations are resentful of the fact that women now are living the way they want to. And that's why they're kind of coming out and being like, well, you're being selfish. Because they couldn't be selfish, and they're like upset about it. And I also mentioned, because I had commented on some of this content that Ellen was posting, I was like, you know what, mothers did have to sacrifice. I mean, we still do, but like it was like there weren't breweries back then,
and you weren't allowed to say it.
And I also think that there was like this sense that if they weren't working or staying at home with their kids 24/7, I mean, like stay at home moms, like if they're working, they're probably like, well, when I retire, when my kids are older, blah blah blah, I can have this life. Now, we don't know if we'll ever retire. Like, we can't wait until then. Like, what if we have to work till we're 75? Like, I can't. And I'm not even saying that is good the way, like, our mothers or whatever, if they thought, like, oh, when I retire, put my life on hold until then. Or until my kids are older. A lot of people who retire
like, wait, I don't have any interests or hobbies.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me work more.
Right. And that's why all the people who are ushers at the Schubert are old ladies that don't have anything, they don't know what else to do.
I know. Like when I worked at retail, there would always be like some retirees doing like 4-hour shifts.
And that's fine.
That's fine,
But it's...
I have so many things I want to do that aren't a job that I can't do.
I can't
but
wait
no, just
I'm
thinking
65.
about like, you know, the sacrifice of it all and not being able to really talk about it. Like my grandmother, I'm sure she would say she wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, of course.
She's had a great life.
Yeah.
But, you know, she went to college. She's one of the smartest people I've ever met.
Yep.
And, you know, she did not have her own career trajectory, and my grandfather did.
Yeah.
And she raised the 7 kids.
Yeah.
And that's what she did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was admirable, but it was, I'm sure, a big sacrifice.
Yeah. No, same with my grandma, both my grandmas. I learned some stuff about my maternal grandma. She, like, took care of a lot of kids, like, not just her own kids, but a lot of kids in the family throughout various family situations that arose when she had young kids.
Yeah.
And I'm sure again she would say I'd do it again in a heartbeat. The writer I was talking about, Ellen, also said she found that visiting a brewery with her friends when her first child was a baby, like a newborn, really helped her with her postpartum anxiety. It is really hard to be stuck in the house all day with like a baby that just demands everything from you.
Yes.
We loved going out because when the babies are that small, because they just sleep the whole time.
Yes.
And you go out for like an hour or two and like see your friends and feel like a human again and not just like a milk machine, and it's really nice. And then there's what argument that kids aren't the only way. And she also points out that in the U.S., kids are like the only category that we openly, publicly discriminate against, because we are discriminating against them based on age. And we wouldn't say if you're over verse 70 you can't come to something except Congress, right?
Yeah, like kids don't have as many rights as they should have.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not like they have a right to go to a brewery, but like they have a right to like exist and be with their parents. Like,
yeah, they're like one of the most like vulnerable and oppressed, I want to say, like classes of people.
Yeah,
like, you know, not like, I'm not trying to say they're more oppressed than any other class of people, but like it's one that we don't think about.
Yeah, right, and it's not acceptable to talk about any other class and say that they can't do something in the way that it is, be like, kids can't do this. Of course, there's age appropriate things. Yeah. Kids can't and of course, drive a car.
Yeah. You have to think about the protection.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like, but yeah, I think there's progress to be made.
Yeah, and then thinking of it from the brewery's perspective of the business decision to be family friendly, they've historically been seen as family-friendly third spaces, especially those inspired by like the European beer garden, Me Too traditions. They're community gathering spots. They're not just bars, and they were shaped by millennials. Not all of them. There's been breweries around forever, but like the way we think of them today was very much shaped by that like 2010s craft beer boom.
And I want to say like before that millennial craft beer boom, all the breweries that I can think of were restaurants that kids went to.
Like SBC or something. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Or like bar in New Haven that's pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
It turned into a nightclub at night.
Yeah, at night, which is normal.
During the
It's a
day, it was a
normal
brewery and pizza
thing. Yeah.
and kids came and ate pizza.
Yeah, exactly. And some parents specifically prefer a brewery's casual vibe over like a sit-down restaurant because there's less pressure for the kids to behave perfectly. They still need to like behave within your sphere of influence.
But it's generally like a louder.
But yeah, and you don't need like a high chair. You can just like they can just sit or stand at the table with you as long as they're not breaking the rules and disrupting other people's days. It's fine. And banning kids can backfire commercially. There was one brewery that tried to do some adults only events. Well, I mean, not some adults only events, but like they restricted kids on certain days or whatever. And it was really unpopular and they didn't like turning families away after all. And there's like two sides to this. I'm totally for a 21 plus times and events, but I guess this particular tradition that they tried to turn 21 plus, like just people just didn't come. And even though they were trying to attract like non-parents, those non-parents weren't the audience, I guess. They just ended up losing money and they were like, oh, let's reverse course on that.
I think it's like it's the business's choice.
Yeah, and there's this one specific brewery in California this was from the New York Times article that was talking about like breweries who became family friendly and are regretting it. Not all of them, but there's this one brewery in California called Almanac Adventureland, and it's near Disneyland. So of course they're like, how can you not be family friendly near Disneyland? Yeah. But they like have kid areas. They have sandboxes, bouncy houses, arcades, like a huge lawn, and they just like lean into being family friendly. And the owner was like, great beer is ubiquitous. Everybody's making great beer. You can get great beer anywhere. So if you're trying to stand out from a business perspective and you add this like super family friendly like amenities and perks, like that is one way to stand out when other places are like challenging this family friendliness notion. So this guy was like, he's shocked that other breweries are moving in the opposite direction. Again, this is from someone who lives and works near Disneyland, so probably a different perspective. And then in that New York Times article, this is like the anti-kids at brewery perspective. Safety incidents, like one brewery in Cleveland had to ban kids under 16 after staff kept like running over toddlers when they were carrying trays. That's terrible.
You can't let your toddler run around.
And children were climbing trees and like parents were just taking pictures of them instead of no, that's a hard no. Kids throwing rocks, running around unsupervised, staff becoming babysitters. Yeah, of course. These are terrible. These are bad parenting.
That's exactly what the original message from the brewery is addressing. Saying you have to follow our rules.
Exactly.
Easy.
And then one person said that a parent used a travel potty for a toddler in front of other guests. That's gross. If you're potty training, number one, you probably shouldn't go anywhere. That's the one time you shouldn't go anywhere while you're in like the throes of early potty training. Secondly, we would always bring a travel potty with us during that time, but we went back to the car and like, because there's like a liner. Yeah, you could go to the bathroom. At this point in time, my child was afraid of the large toilets, so like she would refuse to go on. But we would just bring her to the trunk, and you can think this is weird or whatever, but this is what worked. And she sat in the trunk, did what she had to do. There's like a liner, a bag, whatever. We throw it out in a side garbage can that's not bothering anybody. Or bring it home, whatever, and like bag it and deal with it later. And that way it's private. She's not in front of other people. That's weird. That's just shameless to do that.
Yeah, and also like you don't want your kid undressing in front of strangers.
Yeah, no. And then
you never know who is there at that brewery. Yep.
And then a toddler crawled under a fence into the parking lot at this other brewery, and the parent complained to the owner. It was like, your fence has a space that my toddler can escape from.
Oh, no. Absolutely
not. That's and we're going to get to this whole like my comfort is more important than everybody else in the next episode.
And I also think all businesses are within their right to say 21 plus or 18 plus because it's more of a liability.
Right. Exactly. And then some like structural arguments are just like some brewery owners felt parents have gotten too comfortable treating breweries like free childcare rather than adult-oriented venues. Yes, definitely. And that's what those rules
Yeah.
addressed.
Like, we had to send out an email with a bunch of rules for our waiting room.
Yeah.
Be like, keep your shoes on.
Yeah, just gross.
Like, really, like, things like, that you would think people would know to do. Like, don't put your feet that I don't know where they've been on my couch.
They don't know, and we're going to talk
I'm allowed
about
to put
why.
my feet on the couch because it's my couch.
Yeah, and you have socks on.
I know.
Yeah. And in general, the craft beer industry is under pressure. More breweries have closed than open in recent years because young adults are drinking less, tariffs squeezing margins.
Yep.
Owners have to like re-examine. So like if you take a look at your general clientele and you're like, most of these people are 21 plus, we're not it's better for us to try to attract more 21 plus people by not being family friendly. Great. That's a common sense decision. If you're going to lose business by not being family friendly, then you're not going to choose not to be family friendly. So it's a business decision, and either way, you respect it and follow the rules.
Yeah.
And then like having adults only hours instead of doing a complete ban, like that makes sense. And like I said earlier, I'd argue you could get away with making them like 6 p.m. or even 5 p.m. Like I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be 9 p.m.
I thought this brewery closed at 9 p.m.
I think most of them do in Connecticut. So like it makes sense to be. I think if they serve food, they're allowed to stay open till like 11.
Okay.
But so like on Fridays and Saturdays, like 9 p.m. is like normal bar. Like, experience. But the other breweries that are only open till 9 or whatever, like it makes sense if you want to cut off this child time at 6. I need to bring these kids home for bed anyway.
Big yawn.
Yeah. So I don't have a clear way to wrap this up other than we're going to talk more about this in our next episode, but from like this like hyper individualistic way.
I think it's like each business gets to decide what's best for them.
Yeah.
And you as their patron, you follow whatever rule they decide.
Exactly. And you don't shame other people as long as they are following the rules.
And I don't know, if you don't like it, then don't go.
Then don't go. Or go during adults only hours. And don't, like, that guy thought I was being a Karen and being crazy. I'm like, you better not ever get in trouble. And this police gonna look at this Facebook thread and be like, dude, what is going on?
It's just, why are you letting it make you get that angry?
Yeah. So, well, on that note, what are you making time for this week?
Well, I actually made time on Friday and last weekend to help with a progressive candidate who's trying to get on the ballot. I helped him by doing some canvassing and getting some signatures.
And canvassing is fun, isn't it? Like, it sounds like it's going to be hard and terrible, but I actually have enjoyed my experiences doing it and, like, talking to people.
And especially if you get, like, a good group you're going with.
Yeah.
What have you been making time for?
Well, not this week, but in 2 weeks, my family's doing our mostly annual trip to the White Mountains of New Hampshire, so I'm making time to get ready for that. And I'd really like to be able to like be packed and ready to go to leave first thing Saturday morning, the Saturday that we go, so we can like make most of all of our time there. And I also want to be prepared with like hikes in mind, because kind of sometimes we get up there and everyone's like, what do you want to do? We spend a lot of time just not being intentional. And I really am excited to introduce my children to more hiking, especially my younger one who has never really experienced it. Because my parents weren't super outdoorsy, and I discovered it late in life, how much I really enjoyed it. Not late in life, but not when I was a child. And I really want my girls to be into it. So I'm looking forward to that and preparing them so that they have a wonderful time. All right. Until next time.
We'll see you later.
Peace.